What if I told you the biggest surprise after owning the Omoda 5 for a full year wasn't the price, the technology, or even the reliability? It was something I never saw coming. Welcome back to Supercar, where we don't just review cars, we live with them. If you want the real truth about long-term ownership, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Today we're looking at 1 full year with the Omoda 5 and the biggest surprise that completely changed my opinion of this SUV. Some things impressed me, some didn't, but one thing stood out more than anything else. Let's get into it. I bought this car expecting a compromise, and 1 year later I owe it an apology. When I first picked up the Omoda 5, I'll be honest, I was skeptical. It was impossible to ignore the aggressive pricing, the spaceship styling, and the spec sheet that read like a luxury SUV from 3 segments up. But like many of you, I had that quiet voice in the back of my head whispering, "Where's the catch?" I figured within 12 months I'd find the weak spot. A rattling trim piece, a glitching screen, or that one mechanical quirk that reminds you why you paid less. So I made a promise to myself. I would drive it daily, ignore the press launch hype, and treat it like any other family SUV. 1 year and over 15,000 miles later, I can tell you that the story didn't unfold the way I expected. The exterior stopped traffic on day 1. But here's what happened when the novelty wore off. Let's talk about the design, because this is where most people assume the Omoda 5 will age badly. It's angular, it's loud, and it demands attention in a parking lot full of anonymous crossovers. I thought I'd grow tired of it. I thought the diamond grille and the split lighting would feel like a gimmick by month 6. Instead, the opposite happened. Every time I walked up to it in a car park, it still looked like it belonged to a different decade than everything else around it. The paint quality, which I initially dismissed as a weak point for a budget brand, has held up remarkably well. No fading, no clear coat swirls beyond what you'd expect, and panel gaps that have stayed consistent through summer heat and winter frost. The design didn't age, it matured. I told myself the interior was too good to be true, and then I spent 300 hours inside it. Step inside, and this is where my first real assumption started to crack. The dual screen setup, the touch-sensitive controls, the synthetic leather with contrast stitching, it all felt like a showroom trick on day 1. Surely the plastics would scratch, surely the screens would lag, surely the seats would flatten out like pancakes. Wrong. The infotainment system has remained snappy. The seats, which I initially found a touch firm, have actually broken in perfectly and remain supportive on 4-hour motorway hauls. The materials haven't peeled, the buttons haven't worn shiny, and the cabin is still rattle-free. I've owned German SUVs that developed interior squeaks faster than this. That's not fanboy talk. That's 12 months of coffee cups, dog hair, and family road trips talking. Everyone asks about the drive, but nobody asks about the drive after 12 months. Here's the mechanical reality. The 1.6-liter turbo petrol engine has been a revelation. Not because it's the most powerful engine in the class, it isn't, but because it delivers its power with a consistency that I didn't expect from a new market powertrain. The dual-clutch transmission, which I was fully prepared to criticize during low-speed urban crawling, has learned my driving style. It's smoother now than it was when new. Fuel economy hasn't degraded. I'm still averaging within a half-liter of my original figures. The suspension, which I initially thought was tuned a touch too firm for British B roads, has settled into a sweet spot between comfort and control. It's not magic. It's just good engineering that didn't fall apart under scrutiny. This is the part where I was supposed to complain about reliability. I kept a diary. Seriously. I have a notes app full of every minor hiccup, every warning light, every trip to the dealer. Want to know what's in it? One software update that took 20 minutes while I drank a coffee. That's it. No warning lights, no oil consumption, no trim falling off, no mysterious clunks from the suspension. I've run premium brands that needed more attention in their first year than this. I'm not saying the Omoda 5 is flawless forever. I'm saying that after 15,000 miles of real-world abuse, It has been mechanically boring. And in this segment, at this price point, boring is the highest compliment I can give. But here it is. The biggest surprise after 1 year with the Omoda 5. I've driven the car. I've lived with the car. I've waited for the catch. And here is the truth I never expected to say out loud. The biggest surprise isn't a feature. It isn't a spec. It isn't the design or the engine or the warranty. The biggest surprise is the confidence it has given me. I bought this car as a calculated risk. I defended it to friends who asked why I didn't buy a Toyota or a Kia. I braced myself for the "I told you so" moment. It never came. Instead, I have a vehicle that has cost me almost nothing in unexpected maintenance, that still feels fresh and modern, and that has completely rewritten what I thought I knew about value in the automotive world. The surprise is that the Omoda 5 didn't just meet my lowered expectations. It made me raise them for every other car I review from this point forward. So who is this actually for? And should you take the same gamble I did? If you are someone who needs a badge to validate your driveway, this still might not be the car for you. But if you are a smart buyer, someone who understands that the industry is shifting, that engineering standards have democratized, and that a 12-year warranty says more about a company's confidence than a century-old logo, then the Omoda 5 isn't a gamble anymore. It's a statement. It's for the family that wants space without the payment shock. It's for the commuter who wants tech without the lease trap. And it's for the enthusiast who is willing to admit that origin stories matter less than execution. That's my 1-year truth about the Omoda 5. No script, no sponsor filter, just 15,000 miles of real ownership. If this video changed your perspective even a little, smash that like button, subscribe to Supercar for more long-term reviews, and drop a comment below telling me what car you want me to live with next. Until then, drive safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.